Admiral Marcus Reed stood at the observation deck of the UES Dauntless, watching distant stars streak by as the massive vessel cut through hyperspace. 30 years of preparation had led to this moment. Humanity had kept its true capabilities hidden, waiting for the right time to reveal their hand. "Admiral," Commander Diana Walsh's voice came through the comm system. "Long-range sensors are picking up the Kraxan fleet. They're exactly where intelligence said they'd be." Marcus allowed himself a slight smile. The Kraxan Empire had spent centuries bullying younger civilizations, forcing them into submission or extinction. They never expected that one of these primitive species would be ready for them. "Initiate silent running protocols," Marcus ordered. "And get me Dr. Ishikawa." The holographic form of Earth's leading quantum physicist materialized on the bridge. Dr. Yuki Ishikawa had spent decades perfecting the technology that would give humanity its edge. Her quantum masking field made Earth's ships invisible not just to conventional sensors, but to the very fabric of spacetime itself. "The quantum core is stable, Admiral," she reported. "The Kraxan won't detect us until it's too late." The Dauntless wasn't alone. Scattered throughout this sector were 50 other Earth vessels, each carrying enough firepower to level a small moon. But their true weapon wasn't their guns, it was information. "Begin broadcast sequence," Marcus commanded. Across the fleet, powerful quantum transmitters powered up, ready to break through centuries of Kraxan propaganda and control. The Kraxan fleet appeared ahead of them, 15 massive warships arranged in their typical arrowhead formation. Their hull design spoke of arrogance, all sharp angles and obvious weapon emplacements. They had no need for subtlety, no species had ever challenged their dominance. "They're launching their standard greeting protocol," Tactical Officer James Rodriguez reported. "The usual, submit or die, message." "Let them finish," Marcus said. "Then show them what humanity has been hiding." The quantum masking fields dropped simultaneously. 50 Earth ships appearing from nowhere, their advanced hulls gleaming with the characteristic blue shimmer of activated quantum shields. The Kraxan fleet's reaction was immediate, energy weapons powered up, missile tubes opened. But humanity's first strike wasn't kinetic. Instead, quantum-encrypted transmission packets burst from each Earth vessel, bypassing Kraxan firewalls as if they didn't exist. The messages reached not just the Kraxan command ships, but every subjugated species communication network in range. The truth about Kraxan superiority, carefully gathered intelligence showing their technological weaknesses. The location of resistance cells on 100 worlds. And most importantly, proof that the mighty Kraxan could be opposed. "They're powering up their main guns," Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the tension. "Let them," Marcus replied. "Dr. Ishikawa, demonstrate why that's a bad idea." The quantum interference field activated. The Kraxan's energy weapons charged, fired, and fizzled into harmless light shows as the laws of physics themselves were locally rewritten around their ships. "This is Admiral Marcus Reed of the United Earth Defense Force," he broadcast on all frequencies. "For centuries, you've preyed on emerging civilizations, forcing them to submit or die. That ends today. Humanity has spent 30 years preparing for this moment. We've masked our true capabilities, studied your weaknesses, and developed countermeasures to every weapon in your arsenal." He paused, letting the message sink in. "But we're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate. Every suppressed species in your empire now has access to our quantum shield technology. Your control is over." The Kraxan fleet hung motionless in space, their mighty weapons rendered useless, their centuries of dominance unraveling in minutes. And across their empire, on thousands of worlds, the quantum data packets were already spawning revolution. Humanity's first strike wasn't with weapons, but with hope. And against that, the Kraxan had no defense. "Send the second wave of transmissions," Marcus ordered. "Let's show them what real civilization looks like." The battle for the galaxy's future had begun. Not with destruction, but with truth. And humanity, the species the Kraxan had dismissed as primitive, was leading the charge. High Commander Vexthar of the Kraxan Empire stared at the holographic displays in disbelief. Reports flooded in from across their territory, quantum shields appearing around formerly helpless worlds, resistance movements suddenly armed with technology that shouldn't exist, and their own weapon systems failing against an invisible force. Impossible, he growled, his scaled skin darkening with rage. These humans, they were nothing. Primitive. We watched them discover faster-than-light travel barely 3 decades ago. His strategic advisor, Kolara, stepped forward, her crystalline form pulsing with worried light. That was what they wanted us to see, Commander. Analysis suggests they discovered our observation posts years ago and fed us carefully crafted misinformation. Aboard the UES Dauntless, Admiral Reed watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. 30 years of preparation were paying off. The quantum data packets had reached every corner of Kraxan space, and the response was overwhelming. Status report, he commanded. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Chen's hands flew over her console. Resistance cells are activating on 73 worlds. The quantum shield generators we smuggled in are online and functioning. Kraxan control systems are failing across the board. Dr. Ishikawa's hologram nodded with satisfaction. The beauty of our approach is its elegance. We didn't just develop countermeasures to their technology, we fundamentally understood it better than they did. Their entire empire was built on stolen innovations they never fully grasped. The Kraxan fleet before them had still not fired a shot. Their weapons remained charged but useless, their mighty ships reduced to expensive observation platforms. Admiral, Commander Walsh interrupted, we're detecting massive power signatures. The Kraxan are calling in their reserve fleets. Good, Marcus replied. Time for Phase 2. He opened a channel to the rest of the Earth fleet. All ships, initiate Operation Lighthouse. Across human space, hundreds more vessels dropped their quantum masks. Ships that had been hiding in plain sight for years, positioned near every major Kraxan military installation. But these weren't warships, they were humanitarian vessels, loaded with supplies, medical equipment, and educational materials. The message was clear, humanity hadn't spent 30 years preparing for war. They'd spent it preparing for peace. On the Kraxan command ship, Vexthar received the reports with growing horror. They're not attacking our bases, they're making contact with the local populations. Offering aid. Teaching them how to maintain the quantum shields. Kolara's crystalline form sparkled with sudden understanding. They're not trying to destroy us. They're making us irrelevant. The quantum data packets continued to spread, carrying not just technical specifications but ideas. Democracy. Self-determination. Cooperation. Concepts the Kraxan had suppressed for centuries, now spreading at the speed of light. Receiving transmission from Earth Central Command, Rodriguez announced on the Dauntless bridge. The holographic form of Fleet Admiral Kai Patel appeared. Well done, Marcus. Phase 2 is proceeding ahead of schedule. The Kraxan Empire's subject worlds are responding even more quickly than we hoped. How are our friends handling the revelation? Marcus gestured to the still immobilized Kraxan fleet. Still processing the fact that their primitive opponents outmaneuvered them at every turn. Their reserve fleets are inbound, but they'll find the same welcome their friends did, Dr. Ishikawa finished. The quantum interference field is already deployed around every major Kraxan military installation. Their entire war machine is about to grind to a halt. The real victory, though, wasn't military. Across Kraxan space, centuries of oppression were ending not with violence, but with understanding. Humanity had spent 30 years not just developing technology, but studying the Kraxan Empire's weaknesses, its rigid hierarchy, its dependence on fear, its technological stagnation. And they had prepared accordingly, creating not just weapons, but solutions. Not just shields, but bridges. Incoming message from the Kraxan command ship, Walsh announced. Marcus straightened his uniform. Put them through. Let's show them what real strength looks like. The face of High Commander Vexthar appeared, his scales now pale with something approaching fear. How long have you been planning this? Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Since the day we detected your first observation post near Pluto. We knew what you were, what you did to emerging civilizations. So we gave you exactly what you expected to see, a young, naive species taking its first steps into space. While we prepared. While we planned. While we made sure that when we finally met, it wouldn't be as conqueror and conquered, but as the harbinger of change. The hidden strength of humanity wasn't in their weapons or their shields. It was in their vision of a galaxy where strength meant lifting others up, not pushing them down. And that vision was now spreading across the stars, unstoppable as light itself. The liberation of the Kraxan Empire's subjugated worlds proceeded faster than anyone had anticipated. Admiral Reed watched from the Dauntless Command Center as another success report arrived. The Meridian Sector, home to 3 different species, had peacefully overthrown their Kraxan overlords. It's remarkable, Dr. Ishikawa observed, her hologram analyzing the incoming data. These species aren't just accepting our help, they're improving upon it. The Tellarites have already modified our quantum shield design to be 30% more efficient. Commander Walsh nodded. That's exactly what we hoped for. Give people the tools for freedom, and they'll build something better than we ever imagined. But the Kraxan weren't going quietly. Their reserve fleets had arrived, hundreds of ships dropping out of hyperspace around their core worlds. High Commander Vexthar had recovered from his initial shock and was now broadcasting increasingly desperate threats. You think you can undo centuries of order, his message boomed across space. We built this empire. We brought civilization to chaos. And if we cannot rule it, we will burn it all. Admiral Reed sighed. They still don't understand. Lieutenant Rodriguez, show them what happens when they threaten genocide. The quantum interference fields around the Kraxan fleets intensified. Not just their weapons, but their engines began to fail. Across their empire, carefully planted quantum devices activated, shutting down military installations, weapons platforms, and command centers. Broadcast on all frequencies, Reed ordered. To all Kraxan military personnel, your empire isn't being destroyed, it's being transformed. You have a choice. Join us in building something better, or be left behind by history. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Junior officers, long disgusted with their empire's brutality, began surrendering their ships. Ground forces laid down their weapons. Even among the Kraxan themselves, centuries of rigid hierarchy were crumbling in the face of a better way. On a dozen liberated worlds, former enemies were becoming allies. The Tellarites' improved quantum shields were being freely shared. The Varans' expertise in sustainable energy was transforming colonial outposts into thriving cities. The Meridians' gift for diplomacy was helping forge new alliances. Admiral, Commander Walsh interrupted, we're detecting unusual activity from the Kraxan homeworld. Their planetary defense grid is powering up, but something's different. Dr. Ishikawa's hologram flickered as she analyzed the data. Those aren't weapons charging. They're using the defense platforms as transmission arrays. They're trying to reach us. A new hologram appeared on the bridge, not the harsh visage of High Commander Vexthar, but a group of Kraxan scientists and civilians. Their spokesperson, scales shimmering with nervous energy, spoke quickly. People of Earth, liberated worlds, we are the Kraxan Scientific Council. For centuries, we have watched our military suppress innovation, enforce stagnation, and crush the very curiosity that once made our species great. We ask, we ask for a chance to remember who we were before the Empire. To learn how to create instead of destroy. Admiral Reed exchanged glances with his officers. This was an opportunity they hadn't dared hope for, the Kraxan people themselves choosing to break their chains. The Council is transmitting data, Rodriguez reported. Scientific archives, cultural histories, everything the Empire tried to suppress. They're sharing it freely with everyone. Humanity's greatest victory wasn't defeating the Kraxan Empire, it was helping the Kraxan remember who they were before the Empire. Across their former territory, centuries of enforced darkness were giving way to dawn. Dr. Ishikawa's hologram smiled. You know what this means? With their scientific knowledge combined with what we've learned, with all these species working together instead of against each other. We're about to enter a golden age, Reed finished. Not just of technology, but of cooperation. Of possibility. The quantum data networks hummed with activity as knowledge flowed freely for the first time in centuries. Former slaves became teachers, former oppressors became students, and the artificial boundaries of empire dissolved in the face of shared discovery. But in the depths of Kraxan space, High Commander Vexthar watched his world crumble with cold fury. If his own people would embrace chaos, then he would show them all the price of freedom. Deep beneath the Kraxan throne world, a weapon of last resort waited, a weapon that could tear reality itself apart. Deep beneath the Kraxan throne world, High Commander Vexthar accessed ancient security protocols that even the Scientific Council didn't know existed. The facility hummed with ominous energy as systems that had slumbered for centuries awakened. If our empire must fall, he snarled to his few remaining loyal commanders, then let the galaxy learn what that fall truly costs. Aboard the Dauntless, Dr. Ishikawa's hologram suddenly flickered with alarm. Admiral. I'm detecting quantum distortions unlike anything we've seen. The energy signature, it's impossible. Admiral Reed leaned forward in his command chair. Explain. They're accessing technology that predates their empire. Some kind of quantum resonance cascade device. If activated, it could shatter the quantum fields holding reality together across dozens of light years. Commander Walsh's face paled. That would destroy everything, their worlds, our fleet, even their own people. A empire of ashes, Reed muttered. Still better than no empire at all, in their minds. How long do we have? The cascade is already building, Ishikawa reported. 10 minutes until it reaches critical threshold. Our quantum interference fields can't stop this, it's too fundamental, too primitive. It's like trying to stop a nuclear explosion with a firewall. Reed opened a channel to the Scientific Council. Their spokesperson appeared, scales now dark with horror. We had no idea, the scientist said. This technology, it's from the Dark Ages before our empire, when our species nearly destroyed itself. We thought all such weapons were destroyed. Apparently your military kept some insurance, Reed replied grimly. Can it be stopped? The facility is protected by defenses we can't breach in time. Even if we could reach it. The scientist's voice trailed off. But Reed was already moving. Dr. Ishikawa, you said we can't stop the cascade once it starts. What about redirecting it? The physicist's hologram brightened with sudden understanding. The quantum positioning network we use to coordinate the liberation, if we reconfigure every quantum shield in range to resonate at precisely the right frequency. We could create a channel for the energy, Reed finished. But that would mean dropping our own shields completely. Making ourselves vulnerable to any conventional weapons the Kraxan still have. Reed opened a fleet-wide channel. All Earth ships, all Allied vessels, this is Admiral Reed. In 8 minutes, a quantum cascade will activate that will destroy everything within 50 light years. We have one chance to stop it, but it means exposing ourselves completely. Any ship that wishes to retreat must do so now. The response was immediate. Not a single ship moved. The liberated worlds are signaling, Rodriguez reported, voice thick with emotion. They're all volunteering their quantum shields for the network. Even the Kraxan civilian ships are joining in. Reed nodded. Dr. Ishikawa, coordinate the shield network. Commander Walsh, get our people ready for incoming fire. Lieutenant Rodriguez, target any Kraxan weapon that so much as twitches. The next 7 minutes were a symphony of cooperation. Thousands of quantum shields synchronized, creating an invisible web of energy throughout local space. Every ship, every orbital platform, every planetary defense system joined the network. In his underground fortress, Vexthar watched with mounting rage as his moment of triumph was met not with fear, but with unity. Activate the cascade, he ordered. Now! The weapon surged to life, reality itself groaning as fundamental forces were twisted past their breaking point. But instead of spreading outward in a wave of destruction, the energy found itself caught, channeled, guided by the combined quantum fields of 100 species working as one. Energy is at maximum. Ishikawa shouted. Quantum network is holding, barely. We need somewhere to send this power. Reed's mind raced. They couldn't contain this forever, couldn't just redirect it indefinitely. They needed the local star, he said suddenly. It's entering a solar maximum. If we can channel the cascade energy into the stellar core, the magnetic fields could absorb and disperse it safely, Ishikawa finished. But precision would have to be perfect. A millisecond's error and we'd trigger a supernova. Reed opened a channel to every ship in the network. All vessels, execute Protocol Omega. Channel all power to your quantum projectors on my mark. Together, we can do this. The next 30 seconds were the longest of Reed's life. The cascade energy roared through the quantum network, straining shields to their breaking point. On 100 ships, engineering crews worked desperately to maintain power. In 1,000 targeting computers, calculations were double and triple checked. Mark. The combined energy of an entire sector's quantum shields lit up space like a second sun, driving the cascade energy into the star's churning plasma. For a moment, the star's surface rippled like disturbed water. Then, with a final surge that made every sensor in range overload, the cascade energy dispersed harmlessly into the stellar magnetic field. In his bunker, Vexthar stared at his readouts in disbelief. How, he whispered. How can they be this strong? The answer came as security forces, led by his own people, breached the facility's defenses. The strength he couldn't comprehend wasn't in weapons or shields. It was in unity, in cooperation, in the choice to stand together even at the risk of falling together. The war was over. The galaxy's future would be written not by those who sought to rule, but by those who chose to unite. 6 months after the quantum cascade crisis, the Great Hall of the newly established Galactic Cooperation Council hummed with activity. Representatives from over 200 species gathered in the massive chamber, which had once been the throne room of the Kraxan Empire. Where symbols of dominance once hung, artwork and scientific achievements from countless cultures now decorated the walls. Admiral Reed, now serving as Earth's representative, stood at his podium and surveyed the chamber with quiet satisfaction. The Tellarite delegation was deep in discussion with former Kraxan scientists about their latest quantum shield innovations. Meridian diplomats were mediating a resource-sharing agreement between 3 newly spacefaring species. Even the Varan Engineering Corps, once forced to build weapons, was now leading an initiative to transform old military installations into research centers. Quite a change from our first contact, Dr. Ishikawa remarked, her hologram materializing beside him. Though I admit, I never expected to be running joint quantum research projects with Kraxan physicists. They've surprised everyone, Reed agreed. Especially themselves. The former High Commander Vexthar's trial had revealed the full extent of the old Empire's suppression. Generations of Kraxan had been conditioned to believe in their natural superiority, while their own history of scientific achievement and cultural exchange was systematically erased. Breaking those chains had freed not just the Empire's subjects, but the Kraxan themselves. "Council is about to begin," Commander Walsh announced, now serving as Earth's diplomatic attaché. "The emergence protocol is first on the agenda." Reed nodded. One of humanity's first proposals to the Council had been a comprehensive system for protecting and integrating newly spacefaring species. No more would young civilizations face the choice between submission or extinction. The Council chamber quieted as first speaker Kolara took the central platform. The former Kraxan strategic advisor's crystalline form glowed with purpose as she addressed the assembly. 6 months ago, our galaxy stood at a crossroads. An empire that had lasted centuries was dismantled not by force of arms, but by force of hope. Today, we take the next step in our shared journey. Holographic displays activated throughout the chamber, showing the combined scientific achievements of the past 6 months. Quantum technology had advanced more in that time than in the previous century of imperial rule. Medical breakthroughs, environmental restoration projects, and cultural exchanges had transformed former war zones into beacons of progress. The human concept of lifting all boats has proven prophetic, Kolara continued. By sharing knowledge freely, by combining our unique perspectives and capabilities, we have already achieved what the Empire claimed was impossible. But the day's most significant announcement was yet to come. Dr. Ishikawa stepped forward, her hologram brightening as she prepared to present the culmination of 6 months' intensive research. Thanks to the combined efforts of scientists from 30 species, we have successfully mapped the quantum resonance patterns that nearly destroyed us. But more importantly, we have learned to use them constructively. The central hologram showed a new form of quantum drive, one that could establish stable corridors through spacetime itself. Distance would no longer be a barrier to cooperation and exchange. "We stand at the dawn of a new age," Kolara declared. "Not of empire, but of partnership. Not of submission, but of growth. The galaxy is vast, but together, we are vaster still." In the depths of space, the UES Dauntless prepared for its next mission. But now it carried not just human crew members, but representatives from a dozen species. Its quantum engines hummed with power developed through cooperation, its sensors guided by the combined wisdom of centuries. Admiral Reed stood on his familiar observation deck, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, other young species were taking their first steps into space, perhaps with the same mix of hope and fear humanity had felt. But thanks to the emergence protocol, they would find not conquest awaiting them, but cooperation. Not chains, but choices. "New contact detected," the sensor officer reported. "Artificial signals from the Carina sector. Looks like someone else is ready to join the galactic community." Reed smiled. "Send the greeting package. Let's go make some new friends." The Dauntless quantum drives engaged, carrying it toward another first contact. But this time, the ship carried not hidden weapons or secret technologies, but something far more powerful, the promise of a galaxy where strength meant lifting others up, where advancement came through cooperation, and where the only empire that mattered was the empire of shared knowledge. The new dawn had truly begun, and its light would reach every corner of space, one world at a time, one friendship at a time, one choice at a time. The greatest adventure wasn't in conquering the stars, but in helping them shine brighter together.